Hey, you! Listening to the Aggressive Life podcast right now. We need your help to take this show to the next level. One of the ways that you can do that is by leaving a rating and review, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Your ratings and reviews go a long way in putting the show in front of new people. So to say thanks, we have something just for you. That would be to say thanks for you actually leaving a review. You can do that and then shoot an email to Dirt with your mailing address, and we'll send you a postcard and Aggressive Life sticker. It's all on our system, so leave those reviews, shoot that email, and you'll get something sweet in your mailbox. Let us know at dirt@briantome.com. dirt@briantome.com. Let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Aggressive Life. We're only days away from Man Camp 2024. I don't know what percentage of our listeners right now are going to Man Camp 2024, but that's okay because all roads of the Aggressive Life eventually end up in Man Camp. It's a defining thing for actually my life. It's a defining thing for the thought process and the pattern for why we have the Aggressive Life. Even if you've never been to Man Camp, even if you're not a man, Man Camp reflects so much about the Aggressive Life. It's shaping up to be the biggest Man Camp we've ever hosted. 3,000 plus guys from all over America in 6 foreign countries, Germany, Nepal, Uruguay, and preparing to descend on the little riverside town of Neville, Ohio. We're going to spend a weekend primitive camping. That means no structures. You have to set up your own tent. That means poop in the woods, although we have portlets as well. It's primitive camping on 700 acres of raw wilderness, the best raw wilderness that Southern Ohio has to offer. And there's going to be campfires, laughter, beer, and prayer, and lives change. So this is really a cornerstone of my fall and actually my annual rhythm. It started in about 2015, February 2015, with 500 guys freezing their gonads off in rural Indiana. We opened up this idea. We had 90 seconds. In 90 seconds, the thing was sold out, and people showed up to a parking lot, put their luggage on their lap, got onto a bus, and went someplace that they didn't know they were going, an undisclosed location, and it was the frozen tundra of an unbelievably freezing night and day in rural Indiana. Two of those guys, two close friends, were there for that first one, and they've helped shape the weekend more than anybody else. They're my friends, and they're here to give some spice to the podcast. 512 and Windex. 512, also known as Judd Watkins, a drywall contractor in Cincinnati, and Windex, also known as Craig. He's a creative type and the director of camps at my day job, Crossroads Church. These guys are the heartbeat behind Man Camp. They're great friends. I'm going to start crying if I think about how important they've been in my life. Not even kidding about that. I'm trying not to look at them as I read right now. And we're just going to talk it all. Get your hand off my thigh. Okay, 512. I do not want to cry because you're never touch a boy there. Never do that. So trying to comfort me, but going in the wrong zone. So anyway, welcome guys to the first Man Camp discussion we've had this year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got guys coming from all these different countries. Can you imagine if there's like 2 guys from Germany coming? Imagine if your first time in the United States and you come to a farm in the middle of Ohio. They're like, what is this place? This is America.
And I'm going to say to them, we have ways of making you talk.
That's right. You got to get a monocle. Was it? What was it? No, Schultz.
Oh,
who was that?
God.
Oh, God.
Dismissed.
We're actually showing our age so hard right now. There's like 20% of the people that listen to this
it doesn't
have
matter.
any idea what we're talking about.
I've said before, Aggressive Life is all about me, and I'm having fun right now.
That's right. That's right.
Well, those guys from Germany, the first thing to be really bummed out about is the quality of beer that we have.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's about quantity, not quality. Mm-hmm. What do we?
It's a secret. Is it a secret what we actually serve there,
Judd?
Judd?
It's always a secret. Because we go to the local Miller Coors house and we're like,
what's on sale?
Because this stuff is all the whole idea of having this beer. Like it's we're on a bike trip and you're in the middle of Arizona or Utah in the desert or whatever. You find a beer, you're like, I'm buying it. I'm going to have that beer. Not like, ooh, what do you have in there? Do you have an Amberbach? Do you have it? No. Do you have a cold, wet beer? Because we're always by the kegs and somebody's like, all right, so what kind of beer is this? It's cold, wet beer. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all you got to worry about.
And it's not IPA.
It's not. Everybody
because you cannot handle IPAs the amount that you're probably going to drink.
We've had a lot of the local breweries and stuff over the years kind of offer, hey, we'll give you a major discount. We'll take care of that, or maybe we'll just pay for it all together. I'm like, look.
We got this triple hazy.
Yeah,
it's like it's like whiskey basically. Right. You should.
We got a double IPA. Look, man, I don't need 2,000 guys drinking double IPAs all Saturday afternoon. No,
here's the secret. Here's the secret. It's Keystone Light.
Well, I mean, mostly, but we're not supposed to say that. Let's keep a little bit of the mystery.
One of them.
Just don't take off the negligee right now. Leave something.
At least one of them's Miller Lite. So
we just never know which one that's going to be.
We should also say that many people don't drink at all.
Absolutely.
It's not a core thing. It's a core thing to have it available. But many people don't. In fact, I find actually interesting. Have you guys been up on just the statistic of Americans who are drinking less?
Yeah.
That like alcohol is just dropping out. People are seeing it as just generally unhealthy or unproductive for them. It's a pretty interesting trend. You guys been following that?
Yeah.
I see it just even with friends where people are drinking less and they're just like, man, this. I take a month off and I'm like, this stuff is poison, you know. And
turns out it's literal poison.
Yeah, it's actual poison. So yeah, I see it around my friends, you know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, things are changing. Culture's changing.
Yeah.
So people are coming to Man Camp. This is. If you haven't signed up for Man Camp, sorry, too late to sign up. It is too late, Dirk?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
So sorry, too late, but maybe you'll hear something here of three friends who are enjoying each other, and maybe you'll sign up for next year, but people who maybe you've always been curious what this is about, and what's Brian Tillman's friends like? Well, you'll find a little bit about that today, or if you're one of the 3,000 plus dudes who are coming to Man Camp, we're going to give you some fodder, some stuff to get ready for. Let's talk about the first-time guy. What's the best way to prepare him to get the most out of Man Camp?
Woof. That's a great question. When I think about that, I think it comes down to preparation can be kind of a couple different things. Logistically, the preparations of camping and whatnot, get with your trip captain, read the pages. We're going to send emails with all kinds of lists and information. Some guys really love lists, some guys don't. Just make sure you got a tent and a sleeping bag. You're going to be okay pretty much, right? But the other piece of it is like, You've cleared the calendar for this. You've spent the money on this. You've made whatever travel arrangements or whatever arrangements you got to make, whether it's work or getting the kids taken care of or whatever that looks like. Be mentally and spiritually and emotionally prepared to be all into the thing. I see a lot of guys who come there and like Friday, everybody's like oogie, like, okay, what's happening right now? And then Saturday, maybe halfway through the day, some guys start to get with it. And I know there are some guys that somehow make it even through Sunday and like, man, I almost missed the whole thing. I finally whatever that little gate is in your heart, you kind of let that go for a minute and you finally like are fully into the thing and it was amazing. But then when you see the guys that really get the most out of it, it's like Friday night, they come in the door and they are ready to rock and have a good time and be real and all the stuff that we're going to talk about at camp. They're ready for it when they get there. And I think that's a big thing. Just be ready.
I like that. I've never done a warrior run. I see the signs for it. I'd like to do it. I'm unsure that I can do it. Just running my back doesn't go well hand in hand, but it generally is on softer terrain and it's only a 10K, so I could probably do it with all the obstacles in between. All that to say, if I was gonna do a warrior run and I signed up for it, I'm showing up and ready to do the thing. I'm not showing up with a chip on my shoulder. I'm not showing up going, maybe I shouldn't have done this thing. I'm showing up saying, hey, I'm here. I'm going through the electronic volts thing. I am getting muddy. I'm here. I signed up for the thing. I may as well do the thing. So that's a really good word. If you're coming to Man Camp, just go, hey, I'm here. So that means I'm going to say some things I wouldn't normally say when I'm around a campfire with guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to maybe sing in a way that I might not normally sing in the tent. I'm going to do some game or something that I wouldn't normally do, but then again, I'm here. When else am I can do this? I can sit and just watch things anytime. Yeah, that's a good word. Like, do the thing. Like, Put yourself in it.
Yeah, do the shit out of it. You're coming to man camp. You made all this stuff. Do it, right? Yeah, 100%.
And we designed man camp to be uncomfortable for everybody, one way or another, right? Like if you're the big burly guy who knows how to camp and does every single thing, is like, I got this whole thing, then maybe the challenging thing is for you to actually talk about your shit in the campfire, actually get vulnerable for a second. And then if you're the guy who's like, I don't know if I'm man enough to come and do this thing. No, you absolutely are. You're coming with a unit of guys who are for you, and this whole group is for you. You belong. If you come to man camp, you belong there.
Man, it's crazy when you hear people. I've heard that a lot too. Am I man enough? I didn't know if I was man enough to go camping. We all have the same. We're all made of skin. We all wear clothes. Yeah, you could do this. It's okay. Maybe you have a different level of discomfort that you're okay with. Okay, so for one weekend, maybe you're at a 9 out of 10 discomfort instead of a 2 out of 10 that you normally exist at. Cool. That's just going to make you better anyway. So yeah, you can absolutely do it.
So what should people be preparing for if that's a mentality coming in? What about logistical things like keys to packing properly or improperly?
No cotton.
If you can help it.
If you can help it.
Yeah.
Ideally. Just because you want, if it's wet or if it's moist, then you want stuff that's wicking and all that kind of. You don't need to be perfect, have perfect REI gear or anything like that, but and layers. That's number 2. That's the simplest 2 things, right?
Yeah. So don't pack all your clothes. Pack like 4 things that you can wear at the same time. Then you've got everything.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. And that way you can also, if something gets totally drenching wet, which we haven't had a problem with that for quite some time.
Easy.
You got something.
Easy.
You got something else you can change into. Don't overpack in terms of clothing. Don't do that.
Well, I think the big thing that came out of the hunt podcast that we both listened to get ready for the elk hunts, the guy said something that just really resonated with me, and I'm sure it's been said a few other times in a few other ways, but he said when you're trying to do these ultralight backpacks to go up on the mountain and whatnot, especially archery hunting, whatever, he says we pack our fears. So if you're afraid of being cold, you pack way too many sweatshirts. If you're afraid of being hungry, you pack way too much food, thirsty, too much water. So look, we're going camping for a weekend. We're not summiting Kilimanjaro or Everest. It's going to be fine. So yeah, just pack light, pack versatile, and you'll have it.
And there's other people who are probably going to help you out with things, and just like you would help somebody else out with their thing.
Right.
And another hack is, and I think some of us fought this the first year, but then we realized, fine, whatever you want to do, fine. Guys are bringing in big-ass wagons.
Yeah.
That's a hack, man.
It's a gravel road. Actually, we stopped doing the gauntlet. Are we doing the gauntlet this year?
No.
We won't be able to do the gauntlet this year because we'll talk about some stuff that's coming. Some of the new stuff that's coming doesn't really allow us to do that. We'll have that in the future. This year, we're not going to have it just because we're trying to do some other stuff.
The gauntlet is a very high challenge hike through obstacles, and we didn't do it last year because we just can't take the volume of people. It's a log jam, and people just stand for like an hour waiting for things. So you're going to be coming in on a gravel path. It's pretty flat, little hills, no big deal. But yeah, get yourself a landscaping wagon or something and put whatever you want in there. But fine. No one said that you have to be a minimalist to come to man camp. If you can pack right and be very comfortable and have all the options you want, fine. If you can get it in, great. So just do it.
Well, yeah, like you said, pack light and bring a wagon. Because guess what? That means you can bring more of those accoutrements that you're going to want around the campfire. I've seen guys bring in double oven cast iron to hang over the fire. That's not my thing, but hey, good for them. You know, and they had room in their wagon.
In case you got to make like a cobbler.
If I got to make a cobbler, I mean, if I'm camping, I'm cobbling. You know what I mean? No, never. That's never. Anyway, yeah.
No, that's completely right. For you two guys, what are the most sacred components about man camp, or the most special components? We used to say what happens at man camp stays at man camp, and that really still primarily applies to things that we share around the campfire about our stuff. But in the early years, we were trying to keep a lock on it and have no one know anything about anything. Well, now it's been going for a while. People can know it's fine. So that era having been gone, for you, what are the most sacred moments, your favorite moments, like every man camp, I can't wait to be at this spot watching this?
I think I think about Saturday night. And so Saturday night after a big tent session, which we've gotten to do like big worship, and guys are finally kind of, everybody's in it, you know? And then we go straight from that to this big happy hour kind of time where guys have been getting prayer, guys have been working, guys have been worshiping, doing all that stuff. And everybody is just present in the moment. And guys are running around doing these silly games and everything. And you can see it all, you see the whole sea of humanity all together. And it just feels like we're all in this joyful place together, and it's one of the sweetest things.
Saturday night,
Yeah, I agree with that. Saturday night's great, but like you were talking about sacred things and things that you love to watch the most and whatnot. The baptisms on Sunday, the guys that choose to do that, it's just this incredibly sweet moment. Like I didn't grow up in church. That's not part of my history. I know some guys, I'm watching people get baptized for their entire lives or whatever else. That still has this incredibly fresh and hopeful and wonderful meaning to me when I'm watching that. So that's just when you see a bunch of like, I feel like Man Camp is like the place for the everyman. Like, and to watch guys in their underwear or whatever jump in that water and take that step is just massively powerful. I mean, it's surrounded by 2,000 guys who are like blessing you at the same time. It's really a cool thing. Solitude, super great. I mean, that's one of those as far as a sacred moment. I think I would go back and forth. I think solitude and then the MASH tent experience, where that's the prayer tent where guys can go and get prayer. I think those things.
You're
as far
naming
as
everything.
Point.
I said your favorite. Yours go. Oh, then there's it.
Well, I said one was sacred. One was something I really like watching.
Okay. All right. Good. Cool.
How about you?
Well, it's hard to disagree with anything you guys say. I think mine might be the same as yours. I don't know. Maybe we're different verbiage for it. But we stumbled into this term called Main Street Village as we are designing the new part of the land, 330 acres that we got. And the 330 acres we got is, it's probably, not to overuse the phrase, but probably 10x beyond what we currently have in terms of flatness and vastness and beauty. The trees on it are 20 years older than the trees that we have on the land we've been normally using. It's flatter. It's like stepping from black and white into color. But in planning that, we realized that it wasn't just a matter of where is the lake going to go and how do we get water in the lake and the runoff and where the path is. All that stuff's being worked on right now. But there's also this magical thing that we accidentally got right on our current property that abuts the new property. It's all going to be the same thing. And it's this place where on Saturday afternoon, you've got it's the prayer tent and the beer truck are right there, and there's a flat gravel spot right there, and that overlooks a hillside, like 40 yards of downward slope hillside, which goes into the cow pond. And there's this moment on Saturday afternoon where guys are just chilling and enjoying life.
Yep.
They've got a beer or they've got a water, and some guys are standing in line at the prayer tent. It's this your sort of Main Street Village. All this stuff is happening around you. You look over your left, and you got guys who are testing their feats of strength with big concrete globe balls to see who can throw it over their shoulder, which I would never do, but there's some hosses there doing that. And then you see people sitting on the grass, and others are doing the relay races, buzzing around, and others are pulling slingshots with potatoes and trying to hit targets. And then you've got the arm wrestling competition that's starting to happen down the dock. And then you'll have other people who are sliding down the slide and going into the pond. All this stuff is happening around while there's just smiles.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people having a good time and not looking at their phones. It's beautiful. Yeah. I love it.
It's a sweet spot.
Yeah. What's really cool is you said competition, like arm wrestling competition, and even the guys with the Atlas stones where they're lifting them up.
Atlas stones, yes.
And there's different sizes. The one of the things that always strikes me, and I'm always impressed by with that is we called it games. We're doing these games.
Yeah.
It's games, as in our youth. When we played games as children, we weren't competing. We weren't going, I've got to be the best at the Atlas Stone. I got to lift the biggest, so I got to run this race fast. Everybody wants to run the race fast. You want your team to win. Everybody likes to win. But it wasn't, you have to lose, I have to win, you have to lose. It's, hey, I'm having a good time. It's just, it's that youthful exuberance of games, man. It's just, that is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, it is. It's great fun.
Yep.
What is the thing that you're expecting with the new land we're on? Because we did build this as, hey, come in the new land. It's available. People be camping on it. How's the new land playing into this right now?
Well, I think it gets us back to the man camp roots in a lot of ways, right? Where the first 4 man camps we ever did were on borrowed property, right? And there was no infrastructure, there was no anything, and we just had to figure it out. And there's something about the wildness of that we will be able to get because we haven't built anything on this new land. You just go out there, and it's just grass, and you camp in it.
Turns out that's how you camp.
Turns out it's camping,
Yeah.
you know? And I think there's something that's just really beautiful about the simplicity of that and the problem solving and all that. And it's just the first time you ever camp somewhere, there's something kind of magical about that. And so we're going to get to have that this time.
Mm. Yeah, like there are a bunch of guys that come, year after year after year to man camp, like we all do, because that's that rhythm for them. It's the annual reset. It serves a lot of purposes. That's great. And I know a lot of guys are like, all right, that's my spot over there, like 15 yards off of that tree. That's where we're camping. And that's cool that you got your spot. And there's 300 something acres of killer new spots that those guys get to check out. The new guys get to check out. And I just can't even. I mean, I'm just excited to see guys on that land all over the place, and it feels fresh, you know.
Yeah, so. It's very cool. Now, what's the percentage of people you think are going to be choosing to camp on that land versus the older land that's a bit more hilly? What do you think it's going to turn out to be?
Man, I hope it's more than half. I hope it's most of the guys. You know, I mean, one of the things we're doing is we're moving parking up closer so that men can walk to the new land a little bit easier. It's still going to be a hike, but we're trying to make it possible and make it as easy, you know, like get in there and go to explore.
Yeah, and I think as far as we're not trying to make it as easy necessarily, we're trying to make it more accessible. So the new land's raw, it's fresh, it's great. We're not going to say, hey, park
flat. That's the big thing.
Way flatter.
Yeah, it's way flatter. You're not going to be ending up as easily on the bottom of your sleeping bag like our current.
Oh, it is night and day different. What's funny is when we found the land, the original land, we wanted something challenging and hilly, but as this thing's grown and evolved, which it continues to do, we've realized, we can't really host as many people as well. So, and then here, turns out this land that's wonderful is adjacent to the land. What?
Touches it, right.
I mean, what? How does that happen? You know?
Yeah, challenging and hilly is really awesome on a number of things until it comes to you need a good night's sleep.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you got to get a good night's sleep, you know? Right. We spend time thinking about, maybe we build platforms on the land so people have something flat. You know, and it's good. It's working out well. Yeah. You guys plan on being on the new land or old land?
100%.
Absolutely.
And so what Craig was saying is we've got parking and check-in where everything's going to officially kind of start and kick off. That's much deeper into the original property than it ever has been. We're hoping that means that guys can use that closeness to then maybe hike, instead of hiking a mile or mile and a half to get into the camp land, that mile will get them deep into the new land and they can find an incredible spot and blaze a new trail and see something fresh. We're going to push, we're going to encourage everybody we can to go to that new land because it's worth it. And it's one of those challenges, like you said, okay, it's great for challenges, but you know, when you need a good night's sleep, you need a good night's sleep. Some challenges turns out aren't worth it. And some absolutely are worth overcoming. And what little bit of challenge it would be to drag yourself, especially if you bring a wagon. Highly recommend a wagon. I know that's me saying that, but I've seen I mean it. Bring a wagon.
You're a gear whore. You like to bring stuff and all that stuff, and of course we would. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I think if you can get onto that new land, even if it costs you an extra 20 minutes of walking on grass. I mean, we're not talking about climbing a mountain. Then absolutely, it's worth it. It's going to be great.
I don't think it's going to be an extra 20 minutes. I don't think it's going to be that long.
Well, I don't know. You don't know how fast people move and whatnot. I'm just saying, even if it were, it would be worth it. You know?
Yeah. That's good. This year's theme is taking new land, taking new territory. It's sort of a play off of all of us taking new territory in our own lives and recognizing that Man Camp is taking new territory as well, literally taking new land. That's what we're having. Let's go in a little bit about the struggle of taking new land because it's hard. There's a reason why we keep doing the same old, and there's a reason why we keep justifying what we're doing right now because it's hard to do something different and to take new land and territory. And this new property we got, while great as it is, it was unbelievably stressful, and it is stressful. What's the story behind that?
I think as camps grew and grew and grew, we bought the current land that we have in 2016, and we started to say we're going to outgrow this land, and we also want this to be a destination for people from all over the country, all over the world. We want those Germany guys to bring their friends back, right? And so we started looking at, is this even the right land? Like, do we need to look at other property, that is going to house more people, that might have a sweet lake on it? And around that time, we found out that land adjacent to our farm is potentially kind of for sale. And we hired some engineers to say, like, could we even put a lake on this? And they're like, you guys, you're not going to believe this. This is the perfect spot for a lake, that we could put a 20-acre lake that we want to create the most world-class destination that we can in Southwest Ohio, And so, we can't have a view of Pikes Peak, but we can have a beautiful piece of water. We can design this whole place in a way that feels like a national park and feels like it's off the grid, but is also beautiful and curated and all those kinds of things. And we kind of fell into it in a way, right? Yeah. Like, I never would have thought, like, the answer's right next door. and here it is.
Yeah, what really was difficult for me was, about several years ago, I would just call it 4 years ago, the previous owner of that land reached out to us and said, hey, I'm going to be selling this property if you're interested. And I think the price was $1.6 million, if I'm not mistaken. At that time, we were newer with having our own land, and it was COVID was happening, or maybe that was right after COVID or before. It was somewhere in there. The bottom line for me was, I was personally tired, and I thought, I don't want to make that lift. I don't want to raise that money. I don't want to do it. And then to come where we were 4 years later, or whatever it was later, and have this land now, realize it's the right land, and the price has now gone from $1.6 to $5.2 million. And we did the due diligence, and it was worth that money. But then we've got a much heavier lift to do that. I think the lesson for me, and maybe what I'll talk about, maybe I'm trying out my talk. One of my talks I'll give at Man Camp is, the longer you wait to take new ground, the more expensive it is. Yep. Like if you want to take new ground with your kids, but you keep putting it off, you're just increasing the likelihood that they're going to get addicted to some substance. If you need to take new ground in your marriage, but you keep putting it off, you're just increasing the likelihood that you're going to be in marriage counseling and divorced if you wait. The price to go forward is always expensive. That's why you're not going forward. Mm-hmm. But it's only going to get more expensive as you go forward. And I think that's what I've learned from this whole process.
Yeah, I always try to think of it like, if I know I've got a challenge ahead of me, an issue I need to deal with, a relational problem that I see festering, because that's what they tend to do. I like to kill it when it's a lizard, not kill it when it's a dragon. Like, let me kill that thing when it's easy to kill, even though that means I got to do it. I got to do it now but I don't want that thing to grow into a full-grown dragon, and then I got to try to go after that thing.
Speaking of dragons, have you seen the House of Dragons show on
Not yet, no.
Netflix, whatever?
No.
It's really good.
Is it good? Does it have dragons in it?
It has a lot of them, actually.
Are there houses?
There's a house.
And I find it hard to believe that dragons and houses still exist together.
And there's also, it's not as pornographic as Game of Thrones was. It's actually, I said as pornographic, just so you know, as.
It's a little bit.
We're catching the subtle nuance of
But
that.
man, the dragons in that thing they capture the imagination big.
We're talking about big lizards now, right?
That
wasn't a euphemism.
We are.
Speaking of your metaphor, here's an actual thing. Now, here's one thing I would say I've learned through this whole, taking new land kind of thing, is that it has to happen, at least for me, it has to happen in team. Like, I can't do this stuff on my own. Like, I've got, I'm trying to figure out how camps grows, because that's my job. And I don't know how to build a lake. I don't know how to develop new property. And we've got our good friend Steve, who is a world-class developer who's making that happen. We have engineers. We got people like Cross, who intimately understands the land and all that. And we got Brian, you're helping raise money to like make this thing happen. And Judd, you're giving constant vision for all this. Like, I can't do it alone. And there's never, at least in my experience, there's not a roadmap when it's truly new ground to be taken. So you have to do it together, and you have to do it with friends, or otherwise you're just, I don't know, you're screwed, And so I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
and all those
likewise.
other guys that I just mentioned. Because we couldn't do it by ourselves.
Right.
Is there any spoilers or teasers you want to throw about this year? Any changes you're looking forward to? And if there's not, say no. And if you don't want to share them, say no.
There's a dragon hidden somewhere in that land. A house of dragons hidden on
We
the
built
land.
an entire house out of dragons.
Speaking of house of monkeys.
Oh, the monkey house.
Did you hear that the monkeys were just in the news last week?
What?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. Well, so you should tell a story. Tell a story 512, the backdrop of the original land that we bought and the Australian refuge and all that stuff.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so the original property was originally purchased by a guy and his wife, his wife had this vision to create a retreat center, like an Australian-themed retreat center, and their name it was Mr. and Mrs. Ross, so they named this thing Rawstralia, which is a little on the nose for me, but hey, that's cool. Rawstralia Retreat Center, and first time I'm pull on the property, and there's something has run amok. Meet this lady. She's showing us the plans, and she's got these marks on her forearms. And I said, "What is it? What happened to your forearms?" She said, "Well, the kangaroo got me. The kangaroo got me." I was like, "What do you mean the kangaroo got me?" She goes, "Well, we had kangaroos, and they're very mean, and they scrape the shit."
No, there was something that some dude found a dead kangaroo in his driveway in southern Ohio.
Right, that was on the news, but they had more that got away, and they don't know where the rest of them went.
They never found them.
And I say it's the guys hunting deer. Somebody bagged a
they ate
kangaroo.
some kangaroo.
No
That's
question.
exactly.
That's
Well,
exactly
the
right.
monkey part though. So this lady was over that. I guess the monkeys were real nice to her up until recently. I understand they took a finger. You know that?
Yes,
They took her
yes,
finger.
yes.
Okay. Well, this is back in the old days when they still loved her. She gave them a whole house on this property that was fenced in. Like the screened-in porch was screened in strong enough to hold the monkeys in. And she would go in there and she'd read books to them, and they would lay on her while she's got a headlamp to read.
And they had tuberculosis.
Yep,
the old TB monkeys.
Well, and the crazy part is the local cops who had to deal with kangaroos and all this stuff. They're like, "Oh, you're not going to believe this stuff." One of the neighbors down the way had a Ring camera or something set up, and one night he's got footage. He gets an alert. He's got footage of 5 monkeys breaking into his house. They had broken out of their house, walked to his house, broken his house, and then 20 minutes later, there's footage of them walking out of the house. One of them's got a lamp over his arm. One of them's got a butcher knife in his hand. They're just wild monkeys. I'm like, and she's like, "Those are my babies."
Yep.
I'm like, "Hey, whatever, lady. That's fine. That's fine."
And then she was reading to him, and they chewed off her fingers.
Chewed her finger off, right.
Chewed her fingers off.
Yeah.
So, they were just in the news last week because they had another incident with monkeys, and so it verified all these stories we've been talking about. Like the news, they're verified. It was in the news.
It was her again?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Look, hey, how much does it cost to maintain a monkey in a weekly, monthly?
I
What's a
think
budget?
What's a line item for a budget? I think she's doing it on a budget for sure. In a given.
What's she feeding them?
You're obviously not
meat?
giving them vaccination shots. They didn't get their TB shots. I just got a new grill/smoker, and out of all the meat I'm cooking up, there's something that hits the spot like no other. A real American cheeseburger. And when I got to buy burger, man, I want Flying K Ranch. Located in Findlay, Ohio, Flying K Ranch raises their beef the natural way. No hormones or antibiotics. Just happy cows eating grass all day. Flying K is a family business that ships all over America and partners with state and national certification boards to make sure cattle and customers are happy. Learn more and place your orders at flyingkranchangus.com. That's flyingkranchangus.com. Time to eat and time to get back to the show. All right, so let's think about Endgame, or when a guy comes home from camp, and maybe we have some girlfriends or wives who are listening to this as well. What happens with the guy who comes home that day at camp? What can we prepare people for on the way home?
Well, I think if you're a wife or you're a girlfriend, be prepared for him to be exhausted and not maybe want to talk about it just yet, just because he just needs to take a nap. And so I think your guy processing his experience will come over the course of the next few days or the next week. So patience, that's step one.
Yeah, and so if you're that guy returning from camp, you're going to be tired.
Yeah.
Clear your schedule that Sunday night, and if you can take a half day on Monday or whatever you can do, you're going to want it.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a lot as far as the hike is it's less than a mile, right?
It's going to, well, unless you stretch it, we'll see what happens.
Okay, so let's call it, a mile hike, not that big of a deal, but there's a bunch of things you don't normally do. A mile hike, sharing your feelings or your life around the campfire. You know, if you choose not to share, you can hear other people, and that's going to emotionally get to you. It could really fire you up, and also be like, man, this is some heavy shit I got to deal with. If you're going to run around in the games, if you're going to be pushed spiritually inside of the tent, if you're going to be doing solitude time, if you're going to get an arm wrestling competition, I could give a couple more. All these things are things that you normally never do. And therefore, you have no muscle mass for these types of things. And therefore, you're going to be sore and tired afterwards.
Hey, look, I don't care what it is that you do. When you do something new for the first time and you do it, you're going to be tired. If you come home from man camp and you're not tired, you didn't do it.
Right.
Period. That's just...
Yeah, you're right. Anything.
Yeah. Especially something that's emotionally, spiritually, physically challenging. This whole thing, yes, we keep inviting more and more folks, and we want more and more folks to come, but we're never going to lose the heart of the thing, which is that challenge is good for us, and it is exhausting, and that's absolutely the right response to your body and your mind, and wherever you're exhausted, if you're exhausted, that's good.
How about longer term? A month later or so, is there any common themes about how people tend to process this and change or not change, in the longer term?
I think the toughest thing is you have this great experience, you have this great weekend, and I've heard guys say this. They're like, man, I've never experienced guys being vulnerable like this or just had these kinds of conversations. Well, I hope I can do it again next year. It's like, no, you can do it every week, And like, if you can find another friend or a couple friends to make this a habit instead of an event, I think that's the single number one thing you can do. And a little bit of a spoiler alert is we're building something that you can walk away from man camp, and we're going to help train you to start a group that is going to last and is going to be successful, and we're going to coach you and do all that kind of stuff. So we can get more and more men to make this a habit instead of a once-a-year event.
Yeah, one of the ways we want to take man camp to the next level isn't the camping experience. It is having you have man camp-like touches between events. How can you experience the best of man camp with other dudes and in your life? And so we've got a ramp and a system. If you want to opt into it, you can. And we've worked really hard on it. And we want to be here to partner with your life holistically, not just give you a cool event once a year.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the idea that I know a lot of guys who've found success after man camp and between man camp have already figured out a way to do something like that where they are getting together in groups and are on a regular basis with other men aimed in the same direction. I mean, just getting in a group and hanging out with some other people isn't the same thing as being in a group of like-minded folks that are trying to do the same thing and get to the same place that kind of can understand. Even if they haven't been to man camp, if you can pitch it to them, if you're that guy, great. And I've seen over the years, lots of guys get together, get a group going, bring them to man camp the next year. Next time it's 3 groups where they've spread. And it's amazing to see, what leadership that is, that a guy has an experience that's important and impactful for him. And so instead of going, I really hope it just passively keeps happening to me, I'm going to build some stuff into my life to make this happen. And I'm going to get some other guys involved because I want my friends to have that same thing happen to them, and then they invite people back, and it's just it grows, and so that's what we want to see happening. So I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited for this camp. The new land's amazing, but I think the idea of guys who want to lead these groups, and to be clear, it's guys who want to lead a group. We're not going to force you to go get in a group when you leave, but if you want to lead it, we're going to pour gas on that for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think you guys are of sound mind and body to do something that's I'm not sure that all guests of The Aggressive Life are up for doing. It doesn't happen every episode, but I think you can handle it. It's called the lightning round. That's right, the lightning round.
That's thunder.
I don't know what that is.
It is?
How do you do?
Lightning? Lightning doesn't make any sound. Thunder makes sounds.
I don't know. I think lightning makes sense.
That sounds like lightning to me.
Crackers.
All right, so here's the idea. I give us a topic, and all 3 of us have to answer it in a storm and crack of lightning.
Oh, we have to make the sound too?
Yep.
No, you don't have to make the sound.
Every time.
No, you can if you want.
Every time.
Okay, here we go. Favorite drink around the campfire?
Bourbon.
Bourbon.
Jack and Diet. Little ditty.
Jack and
Diet, Jack Bourbon and Diet Coke. That's fine. Piece of gear you make sure you never forget.
Chair.
Tent.
I agree with those. So I'll add another one. Pee bag.
Pee bag?
Yes.
On a ground tent?
Heck yeah.
No, man.
top
Roll and
three?
throw. Look, roll and throw, guys. Roll and throw.
Headlamp
Don't
makes
bring
it
a
way
pee
before
bag to a
pee
ground
bag.
tent. If you're at a rooftop tent, I totally agree.
Okay, I agree with you on that.
careful.
That the line of demarcation is a lot different from rooftop tent and that, but still, I've peed out the side. In case you haven't done this,
We've
the
seen
thing
this
is,
happen. We've
you're
seen this
lying in your sleeping bag instead of getting up, unzipping, go outside. You just unzip the sleeping bag, roll on your side, and you pee from your side, either into a Nalgene or have a collapsible Nalgene, or you unzip the tent door and you pee out the door. The problem is, I filled up a shoe a number of times, and I always wear waterproof shoes.
Yes.
I always wear water. So in the morning, it's still holding all the water, and then it's wet all day long.
I dug my shoe out of this urinal. Turns out it was my tent. I mean, would you go up to the urinal and like, hey, that's a good looking shoe. I'm going to slap that on my foot for 8 or 9 hours.
I know. And, I'm not bringing extra shoes to man camp. So then now you got to...
Why are you... I don't understand. I've been there when this has happened. I never understand.
Multiple times.
I know, multiple times. And we've been doing this for years and hundreds of nights of camping.
Right.
You don't know I'm going to roll and throw tonight. I probably shouldn't put my shoes in the urinal zone.
Right.
You don't think about that?
I obviously haven't thought enough
You're
of it.
somehow one of the smartest people I know. And also, there's some gaps. There's some big gaps.
Yes, I agree.
It's a shoe-shaped gap in your
It's a
leg.
big shoe. Gore-Tex shoe.
Yeah.
It's a really expensive urinal.
All right. Aggressive move you're making right now to get ready for camp.
Me and the band are fasting, doing a fasting relay to pray for the men who are going to be worshiping.
Ooh. That's good, Windex.
Yeah.
I'll go. I don't think I'm prepared for that. I don't know if this is that aggressive, but I just came out of a meeting where somebody set it up for me to help me think through talks. So it's an aggressive move to listen to somebody else. The Bible says there is victory in the counsel of many. So I'll say that was mine, even though it doesn't feel very aggressive. It was new.
Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of getting the HQ team organized towards executing with excellence on the thing, even though we've got some new land, some new wrinkles or whatever else. Yeah. So.
Okay. Favorite campfire food? I'll go. It's my favorite all the time. Chili mac and cheese, Mountain House dehydrated food, chili mac and cheese. You get a little bag of Fritos, the traditional Fritos corn chips, and you do that. It's like chili. If you did it at home, you could serve it to guests, and they go, "This is amazing." And yet they wouldn't even need to know it's dehydrated. But you take a couple of those Fritos chips and just sprinkle it on the very, very top, like spoonful at a time, and then eat it. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
There's no way to argue with chili mac and Fritos. There's just that's the pinnacle of dehydrated food situation.
So you're not even going to add to it. You're right there.
I would say if I'm overlanding, it's Campfire nachos, which is like a kicked up version of that. So it's basically, I think if we're on a motorcycle, or if we're doing man camp and we're not packing a whole bunch of stuff, yeah, other than just old Trapper peppered beef jerky.
Ooh. If I got to make up a third one, because I agree with you, the chili mac is great. The Good to Go makes a chicken pad thai that is incredible, better than it has any right to be.
Really?
And vegan.
Super good. Well, not chicken. Pad
It's
thai.
not actually chicken.
Oh, maybe it's just pad thai.
It's just pad thai.
Yeah. It's good. I'd pretend there's chicken.
I've never been impressed with the Good to Go. The Good to Go's have not been
It's
good.
fantastic.
I want to go whenever I have good to go. It doesn't do anything for me. Aspect of camp that you love the most?
Campfire time. Hanging out, telling jokes, and then talking about real stuff too.
Yeah, I just love the whole thing. Every I mean, I don't know
My
if there's
favorite part is all of
my
it.
My favorite part is camp.
Yeah, I won't repeat Main Street Village that we talked about earlier. So I'll say it's that moment when you're around a campfire where someone opens up and reveals something, and you sit there and go, "Wow, I did not see that coming." And you're just impressed with the courage it took for that person to say that, and your heart goes to them, and somehow you get better just by hearing that story.
Yeah.
Favorite story that you tell about a past man camp again and again?
I'm going to try and say this real quick and not cry while I'm talking about it, but I was watching baptisms one time, and I'm usually helping with baptisms, but every now and then other guys want to do it, and that's great for me to let them do that, so I get to actually watch the whole thing. I'm standing around the pond watching baptisms go down, and it's a beautiful day, which we rarely get at man camp, but it was a beautiful day, sunny, no clouds, and all of a sudden this shadow just comes over me from behind, like I just see it pass over me, and I look down and like, what? I turn around and there's this monster of a dude. I mean, like 6'5", 250, corn-fed, like a country boy. This guy is made for picking things up and moving them and putting them down. Like he's not an athlete. This is a brute, right? This guy, he's like, and I really resonate with those guys. So anyway, he was just looking at me really, really intensely, but not in any sort of threatening way. He had something he wanted to tell me, and he shows me his forearm, and he's got these scars on his forearm, that are kind of scabbed up, not scars, scabs on his forearm where he cut himself apparently or whatever. You see these? I said, yeah. He said, well, Monday, this is Sunday. Monday I came home from work, and I caught my old lady in bed with my best friend, and Monday night I went out in the garage and tied a rope to the joist and hung myself. He said, and the rope snapped. And I fell into all my yard equipment, because he's a big old boy, falls into his lawnmower and all of his different stuff, and he just cuts the snap. He had bumps and bruises all over him and cuts on his arms. And he said, and I didn't get back up and rehang it because I knew I was coming here today. Mm. So whatever you guys do to do this, I know this is a lot of work. He said, you just keep doing it. And this guy was from North Carolina or something he told me or whatever. It's just a salty, good old boy. And he said the only reason, and I was like, well, that's it. There it is. You know what I mean?
He won the arm wrestling competition.
He won the year before, and that's why he was coming back.
All right.
Yeah.
My most memorable is the very first man camp. We had an arm wrestling competition, and it was 500 guys, only that's a lot of dudes. 500 dudes in this barn, and there was even a balcony around the barn. So you had the table and the arm wrestling table in the middle, and everyone could see it. It was like an arena of awesomeness, right?
It's like Roadhouse.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was. It was like Roadhouse. And in one of the preliminary competitions, a guy was arm wrestling, and his bicep popped off of his bone. And so he lost, and he got up, and he shook the other guy's hand with his left hand instead of his right hand, and you could see his muscles curled up into his arm, and he stayed that night, and it was unbelievably cold that night. And we ended up creating a new award that doesn't get given every single man camp, but it started then, and it's the Dick Tough Award. And so we got the Dick Tough Award, and I'll never forget. That was a cool moment.
That's great. There's so many stories, but the one that comes to mind, this all allegedly happened. This was a Saturday night, and we were trying to cut open this Santa Claus yard ornament because we had stuffed fireworks down in it, and we were like, well, we want to set it on
You were trying
fire.
to cut.
I was trying, yeah. So anyway,
I had successfully stuffed the fireworks.
We were going to blow up a little, this like yard Santa, and I was trying to cut it open and get the fireworks out of it because it was late at night, and we were going to still flamethrower it. So there's all kinds of like little pieces happen to this, and I cut it, and then I sliced my finger open, and it's like 11:45 at night.
That's what you get for trying to remove fireworks.
I know. It's terrible. So I go over to the medics. I'm like, is there anybody awake or whatever? And allegedly, because this isn't strictly what you're supposed to do, but a doctor woke up, an ER doc, and
who shall not be named,
stitched me up and gave me 7 stitches in the back of his car at like midnight. And it's still the best medical care I have ever received. And I play in the band, so I was like wrapped up. I was playing organ the next morning. It was great. But I mean, like, who gets 20 minutes from the time you do something stupid and cut yourself to the time you're stitched up? And for it to happen outside of cell phone
and then we blew
service,
the Santa Claus up with the flamethrower.
You still blew him up anyway. Yeah,
right.
Everybody wins.
And you were still there.
Great.
We didn't have to do it without you.
I know.
It was 20 minutes.
I got to see it. Yeah.
I think the most aggressive mistake, and we stopped doing it years ago, is we initially envisioned this as just a very hard challenge for guys. It was kind of like a spiritual warrior run. And things have morphed a little bit. It's challenging, but we haven't created it to be a challenge anymore. We've really created it to get you to a new place spiritually, to get you a new place relationally. It's still challenging, but the goal isn't like a spiritual warrior run like it might have been in the early days, which is why you don't know where you're going, and you got to have your stuff on your lap and you all that stuff in a bus. So we, in the early years, we would pray for rain. We would literally pray for rain. Praying for rain. We'd send these emails, praying for rain, praying for rain. And those early years, it crashed. It rained hard
Talk about
and
the
horrible.
lightning round.
I'm talking the worst rainstorms you've been in.
Terrible.
1 year, everyone's tent got blown down unless you had a really, really nice one that was low to the ground. And so people got into the big top tent to kind of hunker down. And the wind was picking up the tent, and the poles in the center of the tent were spinning around like poltergeists.
They're like 30 feet tall. How tall?
Yeah,
20-something, 30 feet tall.
Yeah.
Right. And they're, 18 inches at the base, and they're spinning around like tops.
Right.
And I don't know how
And
many
that
tons
tent's
that
making a
canvas
noise.
weighs.
It's making a noise like. It sounded like a House of Dragons.
It sounded like a House of Dragons.
I was with I knew
there
a
was
guy,
no
and he
nudity.
said, "Yeah, I had this route. I was in this my unit," and he said, there was a Navy SEAL that was in my unit, and he said, I thought, man, I said, well, shouldn't we really tough this out? Isn't that something that'd be really good? And the Navy SEAL said, no. What you would do as a Navy SEAL is you would leave and get to a place of safety. So they all walked out on Saturday night and figured out their car and how to get unstuck. And then on Sunday morning we had, 40% of the camp left or something like that. But so I would say the aggressive mistake was praying for rain. And this is the weird thing. It happened like every year we did that. And since we stopped praying for it, have we had rain since we stopped it?
I don't know why we keep talking about not having rain, but you're right. When we stopped praying for rain, it has seemingly stopped raining. Yes.
I'm not going to say it never rains in man camp. I'm just going to say we had a few years where it rained every time, and we have now had several years where it hasn't rained.
Right.
Since we stopped praying for rain.
Truth. Yeah.
I don't think it's just an aggressive mistake discussion. I think that's also just a fascinating thing in the spiritual realm. Mm-hmm. Well, that wasn't very much in keeping with the lightning round rules because
But you knew that when you knew who you're sitting around the table with.
I broke my own rules. Yeah. That's okay. Hey, man, anything else you guys want to talk about that we should be talking about getting ready for man camp?
Yeah, 100%. As you approach man camp, as the week comes closer, as you get near it, there is going to be something, maybe even just a little voice in your head, something is going to come up or come at you that makes you think I shouldn't go, I'm not qualified to go. It doesn't matter what version that looks like. Yeah, you should. If you're getting this on Tuesday before camp and you're like, man, I don't know, there's a lot going on, I got to do that thing at work, or my kid has a stupid game. Look, it's one weekend of your life and you're going to be better for it. And every single person, including me, and I know including you guys, gets some version of that every single time. When you're about to take new ground, you are going to have to push towards it. It's not going to passively come to you. Fight that voice, fight whatever that is, make the commitment matter and be there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'd double stamp that. Just make it happen. Get out there.
I would triple stamp that. I would give my own words. You're right. There's a thing of worthiness. People feel like, oh no, I can't do this. I'm not worthy. Or they just get really overwhelmed with the fear of the unknown. And it is unknown. That's part of why it's fun. Mm-hmm. You don't know. If you haven't been, you don't know. We've tried to tell you as much as you can. You've seen videos, but you don't know. How many things in life do you get to try that you don't know and you haven't done before? So the very reason why you're not going to want to come, oh no, this could happen, that could happen, is also the very reason why you may have a breakthrough and may come out on the back end congratulating yourself and just having the literal time of your life. That's how much we believe in it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Hey, if anyone wants to get a hold of you guys individually, how would they do that? Windex, how does someone talk to you?
You can just email me. It is craig.dockery@crossroads.net. How about that? Yeah, just do it.
It's
if you can spell my name right.
crossroads.net.
I should get Windex
you
at
should.
crossroads.net.
Dirt is dirt at briantome.com.
Yeah? I'm going to talk to the IT guys to make that happen. Yeah.
512?
I mean,
you can give an Instagram thing. You
yeah, sure. Judd Watkins. That's me. That's it. No
Even though your cell phone is 513-328-6291.
Hey, you can text me if you want. Yeah. You can call me. You can text me. Or if you really want to. Yeah, I know. Somebody's going to get here. But hey, ultimately, if you see a short little potato-shaped guy running around man camp, just come say hi and then we can actually talk like a person. Yeah.
Everyone knows where to get me. Hey, it's been great being with you guys. Thanks for being such close friends, being great co-laborers, being great warriors, and serving a whole generation of guys. It's going to be really fun. It's right around the corner. We'll see you next time on The Aggressive Life. Thanks for joining us on this journey toward aggressive living. Find more resources, articles, past episodes, and live events over at briantome.com. My new books, repackaged edition of the 5 Marks of a Man and a brand new 5 Marks of a Man tactical guide are open right now on Amazon. If you haven't yet, leave this podcast a rating and review. It really helps get the show in front of new listeners. And if you want to connect, find me on Instagram at Brian Tome. The Aggressive Life is a production of Crossroads Church, Cincinnati, Ohio.